Let's make sure this is working.
I don't think I can do.
Sounds like it.
I don't think I can go till 2 a.m. again tonight. I got to probably cut it off at a hard 11:30.
Yeah, I have to go to. Actually, I don't have to go to work early tomorrow, but I do have other stuff to do tonight. Oh, boy.
I've been sleeping like shit lately because of what's been going on. So
I've been sleeping pretty well because I've been like working myself to exhaustion in the gym every day. It's great.
Enjoying the progress photos. Do you want to let it simmer for a bit so some people can come in, or
yeah, I was going to give
it some comments in, everybody, if you're
a couple minutes
here. I have the door open to my office, so if my dog comes in and makes a guest appearance, I'll tilt the camera down
for him. I got commissioned to make a piece for someone. Someone came in and saw one of my pieces in the gallery and wants a custom work done. So
nice.
Saturday, I did some color test cups to send off to be approved, and then I got a color selection. Now I just got to figure out what I'm going to make my first test piece, and then off to the races with the final piece.
That's pretty cool, man.
It's gonna be fun.
You're a full blown pro at this point, and emphasis on the blown.
Yeah, I'm losing money on this deal, but it's more just to be able to say I've done it. So
it's a pride thing.
Yep. All right, looks like people are filtering in. So,
Mr. Kill Everything, shout out.
Anyway, all right.
By the way, for him, here, I'm smoking like a Paraguayan special. Like this is like what you can get at the store. They're home rolled, everything like that. They take some getting used to, and they're kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm. Is it like tobacco that's grown in the region?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty, yeah. That's
hand rolled. You buy like a whole, it's like a big bag of them for like, I don't know, what would that be? It'd be like $3.50 US, and like, you know, out of the bag, maybe like 20% of them are total garbage, but like they're like, because they don't actually smoke, they got like holes in them and stuff like that, but otherwise they're pretty good. My local store, there's like down here, the 7-Elevens, like the convenience stores, 24 hours convenience stores. There's this chain called Biggie, and one finally opened up in the like town near me, and I was so happy because they actually sell like good cigars, and I'm able to get them from there. And unfortunately, I bought them out, and they're all out of stock until they get a new stock in. So we'll see. I mean, they only had like 4 packs, so.
Yeah, Mr. Kill Everything said getting that many cigars for that price is a dream. Yeah, because like a pack of cigarettes in the United States costs like $12 anymore.
Yeah, like if I get the other cigars, like if I get Cohibas, they got the minis from them, and it's like 20 Canadian dollars, maybe like 15 American dollars for like a pack of 10. So I don't get those very often. Because like they're like the little guys, so they like take like 3 minutes. So it feels a little bit much.
Wasteful, yeah.
But they got these ones they bring in from like Germany. Here, hold on. I don't know if you can see this. Jeez, I might have it too bright. No, it's just too bright. My ring light's too bright. This is Clubmaster, and it comes in this like really cool tin. Like I love that. So you get like 20 in there for and then I don't know if you can see this. I can't. Yeah, it's too bright. Cafe Cream. That's another one. They're okay. They smell great. Want to get going?
Yeah, let me do one thing here. Cool. All right, let's do it. This week's episode of Heroes Don't Get is brought to you in part by Body Wash. Body Wash. If only a lot more of you would use it more frequently, maybe the world wouldn't be a less hateful and disturbing place. And welcome back to Here's What I Don't Get, from north to south, east to west, the only intercontinental podcast to tackle all of life's toughest issues and the longest consecutively running podcast on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network. I am your host, Tab Burt. With me today from way down south, it's our friend El Chaco.
Oh, Lord, me and Chada. Tab, how's it going, brother? You know what, man? It's funny. We had the week off last week, and it's this. I don't know. It's just like this really dull news cycle where like nothing's happening in between. Nothing happened. I guess we're gonna have to fill it in with. It's gonna be an all filler episode because there's literally nothing to talk about. Nothing geopolitically. Nothing in entertainment.
I feel like King
news.
George III on July 4th. Nothing important happened today, but it's been like that for like 2 weeks.
Nothing. It's just like, can you guys do something? It's like kind of poke the bear. It's like, hey, there's an election year happening. Can you kind of do something, please? Like, because we're getting a little bored here. Clearly, nothing is happening in this timeline, in this alternate universe.
Yeah, they really need to adjust the simulation to make it a little bit more exciting than it has been lately.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's getting real bored. But
how's the simulation?
How's life going up where you're at these days?
It's been pretty good. It was a long week last week. This week started out kind of the same. So the big dirt show loaded out a couple of Sundays ago. The Sunday that we didn't do the show, and it was one of the most insane things I have ever had happen in my life. I've always hated those guys that go like, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I know all about everything there is to know about this thing. They're all really, really, really obnoxious.
That guy exists in every industry, sadly.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I have been doing this for 20 years, and I do know quite a bit about how theater is done. And it's not that I'm so I know that I can be corrected. I know that there's better ways, and I'm open to that, right? But so we're on the floor of this loadout. The show ends at just after 6, like 6:10 p.m. 6:20. Not a fucking person from their production company is there for loadout. So I take my handful of crew that I've called for the evening, and I'm like, all right, guys, let's take all the loose shit that you can pick up and carry off the set and go put it in the scene shop, and then they can go put it in their truck or throw it in the trash or whatever the hell they want to do with it. I don't care. So we do that for about 25 minutes. 6:45, a couple of their crew people show up. Their crew lead has not yet shown up. So we go start grabbing power tools and start disassembling the set. And the set is 2 houses, one on stage left and one on stage right. I'm on the stage right house, and I'm disassembling this like masking wall and trying to get a bunch of stuff clear so I can get this platform that's inside the house out so that I can bring a lift in and start disassembling it from top to bottom. So I'm trying to get the platform clear, and there's all this door jamb bracing around this door, trying to get all the small stuff off of it, right? So I pull off one of the walls of the door jamb, and I set it down on the ground outside the door, and I kind of lean out the doorway, and I look and make sure that there's nobody like in my field of fire, and then I just kind of let it topple over slowly, and it clatters to the ground. And one of the crew members of this production company goes, "Hey man, you don't have to slam things around. You could have hit somebody." And I said, I didn't hit anyone. I made sure no one was there. Jeff, who is the closest person to it, is well past where it fell. It's fine. And then he stands up from where he's working. He's working next to my assistant.
Oh, it's getting serious.
Yeah. And comes over to me and starts lecturing me about how I'm supposed to load out his show, and that he would rather not have me work than have my assistants with my attitude, because I'm an asshole and that I should just go ahead and leave.
That's true, but like
that is
not
true
in this context. Yeah.
And he wants me to take each individual screw that I take out, I zip out the screw and then take it in my hands and throw it into a bucket. And so I said, I'm not going to do that. We have a magnet sweeper at the end of loadout. We'll go sweep up all the screws that way. And then you can save however many screws you want to save. And he goes, "No, that's just adding more work. You could just do it right now. The bucket's right there." And I said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And so he's like, "Then you should just get out of here." And my assistant
out of your own theater.
Yeah, my assistant is squatted behind him. So I'm looking past this kid at my assistant who is looking at me and knows exactly what's going on in my head. Because in my head, I'm thinking, all right, crew, you guys are all dismissed for the night. It's 7:15. Let's go the fuck home. And that thought did cross my mind. And I maybe should have done it.
Maybe.
Instead I took the high road and I just said, thank you for that advice. And then continue to load out the show as I saw fit.
Perfect.
I was stunned. I was so stunned that someone would A, talk to me that way, and B, talk to me that way on my stage in front of my own crew, doing things that are pretty much industry standard practices of any loadout you've ever done. And then, so I load out my house. We get that sucker is gone before 8:00. We send our crew to a break, a 10-minute break turns into a 15. They come back. They don't get their house done until about 8:45, and they still don't even really get it finished. I finally finished the last part of it for them because they just kind of disappear. So they get all their stuff out the door and either into a dumpster or in their truck. And the guy comes to me and he's like, "So what was it? Were you just having a bad day?" And I said, "When?"
Oh.
"Today, you were acting like you were having a bad day." And I was like, "No, I wasn't. This is the way you load a show out. You set stuff on the ground, you let it fall over, someone comes and picks it up." And he goes, "Oh, well, maybe I don't know that because this is only like my 4th show ever." And it took everything in my power not to go, "Your 4th fucking show ever? Your 4th fucking show ever? And you're coming up to me and lecturing me on front of my own fucking stage about how to do my fucking job, which is a favor to you, which is why you're out of here at 10 p.m. and not fucking 1 in the morning, you son of a bitch."
Man, when he's saying stuff like that, "Hey, you look like you're having a bad day," that's like saying to a woman, like, "Are you on your period?"
Yeah.
Or saying,
And the
like,
thing
"You
is-
need to calm down."
The thing is, I have this stupid shit-eating grin I have on my face like I do right now. This is the way I walk around work, amused at the fact that everyone around me seems to be functionally retarded a lot of the time. So then Monday rolled around and I did some digging into our contract with this group, and I discovered an amazing clause. Section 11 in the contract says that the theater staff may at any time have someone removed from the building that they find objectionable.
Oh, exercise.
So the
right?
next time someone decides to lecture me on my own stage, I'm going to go, "You want me to leave? No, no, no. You may leave because I find you objectionable. And according to Section 11 of the contract we have with your presenting organization, as a theater employee, it is up to my discretion who is allowed in this space and who is not. So you may exit and we will load out the show and you may go fuck yourself."
I said, "Good day, sir." I said, "Good day."
I could not believe it. It wasn't like I was like, fuck this show and throwing shit. I'm literally like just standing stuff up and then letting it fall to the ground and making sure that it's not going to hit anybody. I've done it 100 times. Truckin' and Tuckin' said, friend of the show, said, when I told him the story, he said, "Tab, you have more hours of OSHA training than that guy has show hours, period." And he's probably definitely right. It was unfathomable that anyone would have the balls to act that way.
Oh man.
Well,
you want to talk about people acting unfathomably?
Yes.
All right. Where did I leave things off in the Chaco saga, the last episode? Did you listen to the last one, or do you remember?
I think you were waiting on the eviction stuff had been processed, and you were waiting on like the actual date to happen and for them to be told to leave.
So much has happened. So very much has happened. So part of the case is because it's a land dispute over my land that I legally own, that my name is on the title of, that has a map and a diagram that shows exactly where my limits are, of which there is a family of 5 different people, 2 septuagenarians, some grandchildren. Most of them don't speak even Spanish. They mostly speak Guarani.
Mm-hmm. Living
on a 100-meter by 25-meter rectangle on my land that hugs up against the road. Makes it very hard for me. I can't set up a security camera to see my gate because it's too far away because they're in the way.
For now.
The judge, when the case started, put a restraining order on them. Like, it's not like a formal, it's not like an ex-spouse type restraining order. But basically, because we're disputing over the possession and ownership of this part of the property, they are not allowed by judge's order to make any modifications to the property and not to add any new residents to the property. That was not followed. And
they must have, they probably like renovated to make it look a lot nicer, right? They're upscaling it, they're flipping it.
No. They went over into the neighboring property. They've been chopping down trees over there, just stealing wood. Their houses are literally dirt and sticks with a metal sheet roof. That's what they live in. Okay. And so they were stealing more wood because they got more metal sheets that they stole from the property next to me on a building that was abandoned there that was going to be taken down, but they could use that materials for, like, animal shelter or anything like that. It's not their property. So my wife brings up to me, she's hearing some banging. We're like, are those hammers? Are they building? Like, we saw them building like extra bamboo fences and stuff like that. And we're like, Kate, that's technically against the rules, but we'll let it slide. But then they started actually building an extension. So there's 3 houses on their side of the property. My property, their dominion.
Where they're squatting.
Yeah. And they started extending one of the ones in the middle to have another room, to have more roof on it, and to have basically a bigger entrance for it. Why were they doing that? Well, see, there's 5 people that are in this eviction lawsuit, and they were adding 4 more, including a mother and a baby.
These are people that are moving in from off-site?
Yeah, new people. So now I went from 5 to 9, which we talked with my lawyers. We figured this is part of their strategy. I had already mentioned about somebody breaking down my solar-powered street lamp, right? I think I mentioned that before. I went to the police about that, but I didn't name anybody there because I just basically was reporting that somebody did that. We want to put that in the file. And so they bring in 4 new people, including a mother and baby, who, again, we know that they burn their garbage. They throw their garbage. And they were throwing the baby's dirty diapers into the neighbor's property where they poop. And my dog is really good at finding those, and he thinks they are a treat. So new people, we're getting closer to the court date. Court dates are set: August 21st, August 22nd, August 23rd. I go to my lawyers about this, and I'm like, this is not cool. We have to block this. We have to remind them that there is a restriction against any kind of modification or addition of people. So she goes on my behalf, goes to the police. The police, this last Sunday, so Sunday, July 14th, they go to the police, and the police finally do something. And by do something, they sent a single dude on a motorcycle to deliver them a paper saying, you shouldn't be doing that. And
that's really super effective.
Well, it was, because it got rid of the people. The extra people are gone.
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, it's a criminal penalty. Like,
I see.
Yeah, it's a criminal penalty. And they didn't like that too much. So I got notified on Friday the 19th that on Wednesday the 17th, the adult daughter who lives in the third house filed a restraining order against me, claiming violence against a woman, which carries in Paraguay, because it's a, as they always say it's a machismo state, but apparently it's feminist, carries double the penalty of violence against a man.
That's equality.
Equality. So they enacted this restraining order. It wasn't just like a request for one. Now I have a restraining order on me. And I had to figure out what that means, because I live like
within 500 meters of where they live,
like 90 meters from where she is. And she's right by my gate. So like, I don't know how I get out or get back in. Well, when we read this thing, we didn't get any details. It was just violence against a woman. It was filed on the 17th. So we understood it as that she's claiming that I did this on the 17th. So I go out of my way, because thanks be to God, we installed security cameras on the property, pointing at my house, pointing at their house, pointing at my field. I got 5 of them there. Now I have 8. But I thought, okay, she didn't give an hour that I supposedly committed violence against her. But I'm going to get my video evidence. I'm going to put my alibi together here, because I know what I was doing that day. It was mostly just sitting in my office working, although I did go into town, and I drove into town, and thanks be to God, I have a dash cam and a rear cam on my van. So I took the footage from that. I had to call in the guy who installed my place, because everything was sitting in Spanish. So I had to figure out how to get the files for 24 hours of the day of the 17th. Again, because nobody gave me any details about the accusation. Just that I now have a restraining order against me. So we get the files. It's 80 gigabytes of video. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there is no way in hell that they're going to assign a cop to watch through and watch my movement. Not 5 cops, because it's 5 cameras, for 24 hours to do this. Okay. So Monday comes around. I get more details on this thing. So what she's claiming is, no, I didn't verbally threaten her. I didn't hit her or anything like that. She's claiming that I was non-verbally threatening with my shotgun, shooting it in the air.
Like Yosemite Sam?
That's what everybody keeps sending me as a GIF. Do you say GIF or GIF? Are you a GIF person or a GIF person?
I go back and forth.
It doesn't matter.
Just to annoy people, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. So I ditched the 80 gigabytes of video that we took time to get. I haven't shot my shotgun since December. I have a kind of a thing where I like to practice, 2 to 4 times a year. It's like a good idea. I want to know that my shotgun works, that everything's clean, or that it's been taken care of, that I still know how to use it. So that in the case of an emergency, I can grab it and feel comfortable with it in my hands. But I haven't used it since December, because you see, the last time I used it was the weekend that this lady moved back onto the property. You see, she had left and gone away. You know why she left? Because in a fit of rage one day, she threw, when all of her family were over there, she threw a kitchen utensil, I think it was a ladle, at her 4-year-old child who was running away from her, and lacerated his head. Like, hurt him badly.
What a great mother.
So So he ended up going to live with his dad, but like at the incident itself caused what they called a batalla campal, like a battle royal of all their family fighting with each other. And so she was upset and she went and moved away for pretty much a year and lived with her boyfriend. So she comes back in December and instantly, she's the one with the crack addict son, instantly things got shittier. Because before that, it was just an old couple and yeah, they're annoying, but like whatever. But now she's back. She's got her 21-year-old son who doesn't have a job, who beats the crap out of his grandparents whenever he needs crack money, and is playing loud music pretty much all day long. Pretty sure he's the one who destroyed my solar street lamp, but I'm not sure. Can't say for certain. So instantly when she came back, because I was looking at like the squatters' rights laws, this is before I even hired my lawyers. And it was like, okay, look, I had looked at the squatters' rights laws and I was just going to wait for the old people to croak. Now that she's back, I got to get rid of her because I don't want that clock starting that she's going to have some sort of claim to stay on the property. So that's when I brought in the lawyers. But before that even happened, she comes back and I get a text message from my groundskeeper that the lock and the padlock and the chain that goes around my gate to come onto my property was missing. So we had to go and find another one, put another one on there. And then the next morning I said to my wife, I was like, now's as good a time as ever to practice with my shotgun. I mean, somebody's taken my gate chain. That might be somebody scoping out the joint. Might be trying to send me a little subtle message, whatever. So I take my son. It was in December, and December here is hot, so hot. So we got this place where I do my shooting against this like cliff that is carved out of a hill on my property. And we set up targets. Like I've got these like the proper like shooting range targets. And then we just bring out like random junk and have fun shooting at it. And he brings his little air rifle. And I bring up my shotgun. We put on our hearing protection and our eye protection. And this time around, I drove my truck out and brought everything in the truck because it was just too hot. I didn't want to make multiple trips because by the time I got everything loaded out there, I'd be like, screw it, let's go back. So, I got in my shotgun, I got capacity for 7 rounds, seven shotgun shells, or 7 cartridges. And I'm having fun. We set up some stuff and then I blow through the first 7, just blammo, 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 blammo. And I'm having fun with it. I look at what I'm shooting. We shot like an old backpack and like, just random junk. And usually when we go over there and we do some shooting, there's a little bit of an audience, a little bit of a peanut gallery over there. We're used to it, right? Like we're used to it. It's like, oh, they're shooting, right? Never a problem. I go through the 7 rounds. I reload with another 7 rounds. I do 14 rounds. I then help my son with his air rifle. We do a few more shots, and then it's like, let's just go back. It's too hot.
Yeah.
So we load everything back up. We go back up with the truck, and there's some fat guy sitting at the fence line, a friend of hers or family member or something. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm doing it all in English, but what are you doing? Practicing with my shotgun. Why? Because it's a good idea to practice with your shotgun sometimes. You never know when you're going to need it. It's good for security, right? So he asked me a bit about my shotgun. I tell him it's like a Boito from Brazil, 12 gauge pump action. I love it. It's fun. It's great. It's one of the best guns I've ever had. And then we smile, wave, go back to the house. When I made my offer to them to buy them out, just to kind of get them to leave with dignity, one of the things that came up was that they found it scary when I shot my gun. Again, this is in December. I made the offer to them in February. They accepted it and they rejected it all in February. Her and her mom came over and tell me at one point, they're like, they tried to make a counter offer 4 times what I was offering to them. And I was like, thank you, but I This is what I'm giving you, and that's take it or leave it. So, flash forward to July. They get the notice from the police on July 14th. She goes to the police on July 17th, and files a restraining order to smear my name. So now I'm in the system in Paraguay as a potential, woman abuser. And she's put in this thing that I've been threatening and harassing them with my gun and by sending my lawyers to talk on my behalf. I send my lawyers to talk on my behalf because you speak Guarani and I don't. And I specifically hired local lawyers that do. And they've been instructed to talk to you with respectfully and just get it on with it. So anyways, so now I got a court date this Friday. I got to go. I got to sit in front of the judge after she's given her testimony. I'm not allowed to have a legal interpreter with me. I have to do it all in Spanish.
That's kind of messed up.
Little messed up. But my lawyer said to me, talk in Spanish anyway, because I want them to hear how bad your Spanish is.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, we'll do it. And, they, so yeah, this is like, it's causing us a little stress. Because the penalty, if I was found guilty of violence against a woman, is 6 years in prison. 6 years in prison. The penalty for her for making a false accusation of this kind is 2 years in prison. So I've got the evidence. I've got the witnesses. I don't do this. I mean, you can ask any neighbor in the whole vicinity. If you're hearing random blasts into the sky, and also too, bitch, where's your evidence? Like, everybody's got a camera. So if I'm supposedly, she didn't say it is this one time. She says, I do this all the time. Where is your evidence? Do you have a video of me doing this? I mean, you must. I mean, if I'm constantly doing this, you hear a bang, bang in the sky, you grab your phone, but you're lying. And I'm going to prove you're lying. And then afterwards, I'm going to counter you. And I today just got through. So, it's like I was advised, like, don't say you practice shooting on your property. I'm like, no, I do. I'm not going to lie. I don't lie. If they ask me if I shoot on my property, I'm going to say, yes, I do. I practice in the same spot every time. I have had 3 police officers come do kind of just a kind visit to get to know us because we're in the neighborhood. And each time they come, I point at where I shoot and I go, is that okay for me to practice there? And they're like, yeah. In fact, one lady cop that came, she's like, my husband would love to come over here and practice on your land if you let him. I'm like, yeah, give me a call ahead of time. Sure. So that's where we're at. This is the worst calumny I've ever had against me in my entire life. Like, I've had some pretty big doozies, but this one takes the cake. So when I was advised about the not saying about the shooting thing, I was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. And I actually, for a second, for a hot minute, considered firing my lawyers, because in my head, I was like, hang on, like, you're telling me to be calm and you're confident, but if you need me to lie to get off on this thing, I'm not confident in you. Like, I need you to. And I gave them, I didn't tear a strip off them, but I said to them, I was like, listen, I've hired a team of lawyers. And at this very moment, you guys are getting your asses kicked by some 75 IQ piece of trash. And you need to protect me. Like, it's your job to be 2 to 3 steps ahead of these people at every bit. And something resonated with.
Is it him or me? Oh, no.
Oh, there we go. We're back. We good? You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're saying that what it basically resonated.
So I looked at what they typed up, and chef's
Oh no. His neighbors are sabotaging his internet.
No, I can still hear you. You couldn't hear me when it
Couldn't hear you.
did that? All right. So anyways, yeah, so I read this thing from them. It's beautiful. Like, I mean, it's like I'm a writer. Call back to Maddox. I'm a writer. I look at this and I go, damn, this is 10 out of 10. Like this, it's so well done. It's not insulting, but it's assertive, it's confident, it builds me up, it shows. And I mean, again, we're bringing in witnesses to show for a character witness. Like, I am a net benefit to this community. I give, I donate, I've helped them with building churches. I've helped them with paying for other people's funerals. I donate on the regular to like give anonymously to different families in need. Like, we take it very seriously, my reputation and the family reputation. So if you can get this out before Friday, I'm going to ask for those of you who pray, I'm going to be in that courthouse at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time this Friday. And if you guys could throw a prayer my way, I would be very grateful. I know I'm going to beat this. It's totally crap. They're going to point out the fact that it's totally punitive and retaliatory. But this is what's happening. This is where we're going. They threw out the nuclear weapon, and now it's full-blown war. You come at me, you threaten me with something that could take me and away from my family to provide and protect them for 6 years. Oh, this is too far. We're not done. And you're going to feel pain. Legally, you are going to feel the wrath that you deserve for what you've done.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things.
It's just the way it is. Shall we jump into some issues?
Yeah. Do you want to go first this week?
Sure. Here's what I don't get. Lore breaking. Do you know what I mean by lore breaking?
You don't like in the episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, The Descent, when they take apart Lore at the end because they defeated him and they should have tried to rehabilitate him instead. Yeah, it's always bothered me too. It's a little less enlightened than I maybe should have been.
Lore breaking is something that happens a lot in pro wrestling. For example, I mean, does Ric Flair have the record for the most world titles? I mean, are we counting it when he lost it sort of, but didn't lose it sort of in Japan? Like, gets a little bit dicey. But lore breaking to me, there was a lot of complaints about The Acolyte recently. Star Wars The Acolyte. Now, I do not watch any Disney Star Wars, so I can't vouch for it. For one thing that I like to do, I know this is something maybe you don't like to do, but I give clicks where I maybe shouldn't. But I'm one of those guys that really gets a kick out of just watching other people shit talk media and content that I'm not watching. So I love Pitch Meeting. I like Pitch Meeting a lot because I don't have to watch any of those movies. I just get reassured as to why I'm not seeing them. I don't mind Nerdrotic for the most part. I'm not a big fan of The Drinker, but I do enjoy a good takedown. And with The Acolyte, they really did do a number. Disney has been just absolutely crapping all over Star Wars lore. I mean, they've ruined the Force now. They've ruined the specialness of Anakin. They do this. And I guess my question is, why do we do this? Why do we do this? I remember when I was working with one of my best friends, we were working on a couple of pilots for a couple of television shows. And one of the things you do when you're setting up for a pilot is you kind of start your show Bible. Are you you're familiar with a show Bible, right? So for those who aren't familiar with a show Bible is something so that you are putting down pretty much every little detail that you can about different characters and places and things, just so that if you're some new writer that gets brought in later, you can pull open the Bible and see what you're going to do with these things so that you don't break the lore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just don't want to break the lore. It's inexcusable. And it's one of those things where I think we're seeing more and more lore breaking these days because lore doesn't matter anymore. Because you got reboots and you got prequels. Prequels are some of the things that kill lore more than anything these days, it just seems. And it drives me crazy because, again, I don't know, man. I like really good storytelling. I just like, I mean, I love to get into a really good, just whole other world.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it when these things fit together. And I mean, sloppy lore. So, for example, like some people really like the show Lost, but it was a textbook example of what's wrong with J.J. Abrams with like the magic box thing, right?
Yeah.
Because he sets things up and then he hopes that somebody comes around to it later. It's like he's setting up weapons for later. But, if you get too cute with that, you can really destroy your own lore.
Well,
and
what the problem Lost had was that, so in a movie, there'll be foreshadowing, right? They'll be like, so I watched The Dark Knight last night, and there's a scene where Commissioner Gordon is talking to the lady cop who the one who ends up like kidnapping Rachel and all that. And he's like, you're working a little late, detective, aren't you? And she goes, I had to put my mom in a home. And it's just like, it's one line and it's in the first like 20-ish minutes of the movie. And then way later in the movie, she's like, I had all these hospital bills with my mom, like I had to do it. And so it's just like a little foreshadow and then a little payoff. And what they think is they're like, I'm going to put all this stuff in here and then we'll pay it off in 7 seasons of this TV show. And they either lose track of all the stuff they've set up or they don't know, they don't have a plan on how that's going to pay off when they drop it in there. So then it feels, it's when you actually get to it, you're like, oh, that's it. It's just like a smoke monster.
That's the other thing is that it's part of the crime of people not knowing show don't tell. Show don't tell. Right? So they'll throw in these little lores or things like that. Like my son loves lore. He loves food theory and game theory and film theory and all those kind of things because that's all it does. Matt Pat would go balls to the wall on lore. And that so I like
fucking off Anthony Fauci.
Yes. Yeah. But I like speaking about lore with my son because the thing is that it's good for the brain. It's good for the brain to kind of put those things together. It's good for the brain. Like, oh, remember when that so-and-so did this, this, that, and the other thing? And it's fine. Like, I mean, I like those kind of things. Like, I mean, it's like you're planting Easter eggs in your own genre and your own stuff. But like Tolkien doesn't blow lore. He got his lore correct all the way. He built his lore beyond what was necessary. Lucas did that. One of the things that I liked about, because I know you're not a Star Wars guy, but I'm not anymore. But when I was growing up, I liked Star Wars. And I had a buddy of mine who loved Star Wars. And growing up, like when you're a kid, it's like you go to so-and-so's house and they got these action figures and I've got these action figures. And if I bring my action figures and he's got his action figures, we can like reenact certain scenes or whatever from the thing. And my friend kept going with it and like read all the expanded universe books and had all the like textbooks, like all the, with the diagrams of the ships. And you'd have the encyclopedia that had all the different creatures. And this Harvey Weinstein's old assistant comes in and just shits all over the lore. Like just shits. And then so you had Wikipedia have to do rewrites on this one character because they fucked up the lore.
Kathleen Kennedy just like they did the same thing with Star Trek recently where they were just like, oh, all those books that were like really tried to stick to what the story that had been told. They don't count anymore. They're all just trash. Like you guys wasted 40 years reading these things and getting invested because now we can just decide to do whatever we want.
I think we mentioned that. Like and to me, it's callous and cruel. I think it's extremely cruel. Like, I mean, Okay, so I used to read The Amazing Spider-Man when I was like in junior high for like for like maybe a year or two. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that like, what was it? Sensational Spider-Man was the other one. I don't know what the other one was. The other one, but I didn't read the other one because it was like a different lore. It was like a different timeline. It was like a different thing. So I don't mind if you deviate, but you like gotta label it right. You gotta label it right. But like everybody's going through taking the IP, crapping all over it. I think I talked about this with cultural vandalism before. But the thing is that like they keep bringing in, like in wrestling, famously, infamously, Stephanie McMahon, the daughter of Vince McMahon, went on a big tangent, didn't want anybody who knew anything about wrestling to be on their writing staff.
Yeah.
And would call him a fucking mark. Don't be such a fucking mark if you like knew something about it. Cause like if they cared about the lore or if you called something back, like the lore in wrestling is broken. I mean, just look at like Undertaker and Kane. It's broken, but like it doesn't need to be. I mean, it's you can break it if you've got a territory system. If like, this is what's happening in Georgia and this is what's happening in Portland and this is what's happening in, the AWA or something. That's fine because each territory has its own lore. Because when you have the right lore and you call back to it, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like we're doing that right now in our wrestling story. We're calling back the storylines we had, 7 years ago, eight years ago. And it's working. People are eating it up because they're like, yeah, I remember. Oh my goodness, that's what's been going on this whole time. Like, it's great because people love it. But like, it's so lazy. And they will use every excuse in the book to break the lore for, recasting in different racial typecasts. Like we saw the Disney thing. Like we're breaking the lore now. Snow White's not white. We're breaking the lore now. We got person who can't swim playing Ariel. It's like what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And I think creativity truly did die. I think it's dead. I think we're just like in zombie mode right now. I think we haven't done anything for quite a few years. I don't think there's anything good since we talked. Maybe 2004. I don't even know when the last time like something truly remarkable and original came about. I mean, we've had stapled on things from IP that we liked for a long period of time, but you might have a one-off cool movie that came about, but like generally speaking, creativity might be dead. And I think lore breaking might either be a symptom or a catalyst for
I think it's a symptom.
Okay.
I think the disease is talentless writers. And
why do we have talentless writers? There's good people that know how to write these days. I don't know why they're not hiring them.
Because they're too expensive now. So what it basically comes down to with the lore stuff is that people get invested in a franchise, they get invested in the universe, and they learn the things about them. And you have these talentless writers that want the lazy, quick route to becoming like their own showrunner, and they want to do their idea. They don't want to do your idea. They don't want to do WrestleMania 37 or whatever number they're up to, right? But they do see that as a stepping stone to get to, because that's the way Hollywood seems to work now. Like you make some small indie movie, and then Marvel's like, here's $1 billion to make the next Captain Marvel movie. Yeah. So they all seem to be in this mindset of like, just do anything. Do a halfway decent enough job, sell yourself on your diversity as our strength, and then you get to go make a huge thing. So rather than a Star Trek fan being able to write the new Star Trek TV shows so that they fit into established lore, like someone like me, and not to say that I'm a writer, or even like bringing on someone like me to run ideas by and to go, hey, does this make sense in like the chronology of what's happening in the universe? And someone like me, they could just be like, no, it doesn't make any fucking sense. This is stupid. They don't want to do that because that would take like actually sitting down and learning about a thing. So Tim summed it up really, really well. I think about Star Trek Picard when we watched it was he described it as it's by people that don't like Star Trek for people that don't watch Star Trek. And that's what's happening to all of these different franchises. Like Kathleen Kennedy doesn't give a shit about Star Wars. She was, like you said, she was Weinstein's assistant. Then she was...
that was Leslie Headland, yeah. And then Kathleen Kennedy was Spielberg's assistant.
Yeah, Spielberg's assistant. And then like What do you think, that he just shits excellence and it rubbed off on her? Like, why the fuck is she running Lucasfilm? She's never done
George
anything.
picked her.
Yeah, and she brings in all these people that seem to have, you know, J.J. Abrams, like, at least as much as I hated the idea of him doing it, there's a certain amount of logic in that because he had success with other franchises. But then you bring in someone like Rian Johnson, who just kind of shits all over the movie before sets up a bunch of shit that doesn't work out, and then you fire him, and it's like, where were you during the writing process going like, hey, we set up some shit in this first movie, maybe we should pay it off? But she didn't give a shit about that. All she cared about was getting in the shows like The Acolyte, or getting Rey into everything, and doing stuff like Rogue One with Jyn Erso, and just like, we're gonna make Star Wars the Force is female. That's all she gave a shit about. And so they don't, like, why would you, how? And Star Wars is the most unfathomable to me because it's at the time 6 movies. All you have to do is sit down and watch and understand 6 movies. Dude, it's not like Star Trek, where you got 700 episodes and 10 movies.
In Rian Johnson's case, 1 movie, just 1 movie, just watch 1 movie and get caught up.
Yeah.
And just go, okay, he set me up. Like, think of it as like volleyball. Okay? Think of it as volleyball. Okay? So you got a trilogy. The ball comes over to your side of the court. One guy bumps it. It goes up in the air. The next guy sets it. And then the third part, you spike it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just get it done.
Well,
I don't know why.
The problem with Star Wars is there was no coach, you know. So George Lucas, when the original trilogy was one giant, massive movie, and so he took the first act and made that the original Star Wars. So he kind of had a vector for where the trilogy was going. And with the prequels, he had a vector. He needed to end up at where A New Hope started. So he had an endpoint in mind. And here it was just like, you can do whatever you want. And so they didn't have a coach to go, this is what our trilogy is going to be. Movie 1 is going to be about this. Movie 2 is going to be about this. Movie 3 is going to be about this. Now, you, writer, creative director person, you are constrained. And that's the other problem. That's why creativity is dead, is there is no constraints on your creativity anymore.
Constraints on creativity are wonderful.
You can do all this fucking CG crazy shit in the world. And you were talking about, so from my Star Trek perspective, when you pay off lore, it is very, very fulfilling. Like, I've been reading Star Trek books for years now. I've read about 25% of the available Star Trek books, and they do a really, really good job of like tying in little threads from single episodes. Like a character will just come swinging through, and you're like, hey, I remember that character from this episode. Or they'll be going on somewhere in the galaxy, and they'll reference a movie that happened, but it's, you know, we're not following that same crew, we're following different people over here, and it's like, oh, so this is, you know, so stuff is happening in the world. The world is getting bigger. I'm imagining all of it, and I find that stuff really, really cool. In Star Trek Enterprise, which was a prequel that I did kind of hate the series, they did do some things, like they did an episode with the Ferengi, which in the lore, the Ferengi are not, there was no first contact with the Ferengi until TNG. But in this movie, that TV show took place like 200 years prior to TNG. But they did a really good job of, they never said they're the Ferengi, and only one crew member actually met them. So for me, the audience, it's like, these are Ferengi, but they didn't break any of the rules in order to have them in there. We as an audience knew, but them as characters didn't know. And they're too fucking.
That's very similar to what Leslie Headland is doing here with the Sith, because they had the one guy with the one line from the prequel trilogy who said the Sith haven't been around for such and such amount of years, right? And then they put that asshole into the Acolyte series,
almost as a taunt, right?
Before he should, and then before he should have been alive, and it's like,
oh yeah, I heard about this.
Clearly, the Sith were around when apparently you were around, and now you're an idiot. And like, people bitched and moaned about midichlorians in like the Phantom Menace. I didn't have a problem with them because it's George's thing, and I didn't have a problem with them. It's fine. Do your thing. whatever you want to explain it by.
Thematically, I object to it because what it does is it takes Luke Skywalker, and instead of being Batman, he becomes Superman. Anybody can be Batman,
It
right?
makes Anakin though, but because he has a flaw, you know he's going to fall.
But just because it's a biological thing, if the Force is midichlorians and you can measure it by checking blood, then that means that
I don't know if that's what it was saying though. I think that midichlorians measured, if you had a higher amount, you had a higher susceptibility to being able to use the Force. Not that like, you know, I got 20 midichlorians, you got 10, so I can outforce you. It's just like, it's more of like, you think about like IQ. IQ is not a great measure, but like G, which is like general competence, like it's like your full capacity. I always thought of it as like that. And so they're like, look, this is off the charts, because maybe they would look at it and go, okay, like this Padawan seems to have at least something in him that we can work with. You know, like I think about it like in hockey, when you're like, you know, we got the NHL entry draft that just happened a few weeks ago. So, you know, like when you're watching the prospects and you're going, who are we going to draft? And it's like, well, this guy's kind of got this ability, and like he's capable of doing this. He can skate this fast and he can shoot this hard and all this kind of stuff. I always thought of it as something as like a general capacity thing, which I would also think would be watered down after Anakin was with Padme, because we don't know what Padme's midichlorian count was, so we would assume that like Luke would probably have less, right?
Well, but not to mention they were putting chemicals in the water that were making the freaking space frogs gay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, we all saw what the space frogs were like living under there in what's the name of that town?
I thought when you said he was with Padme, I thought you were explaining that like Anakin lost some of his essence, you know.
Well, possibly.
No fat
I'm saying zygotes dividing. Yeah.
The real solution to the Star Wars universe is MGTOW, and then you can go live on as a weird, sexless Jedi monk.
Well, it's mostly MGTOW. I mean, you've seen how these Jedis live, but like, it's funny because like the more the writers, the more the people who are in care of the IP, the more that they care, the more I care. Right? Like if you put those details in, as you're saying, even like especially with books, if you're threading those things, now when I start catching those things, there's two parts to this. I start catching those things, that trains my brain to be more attentive to the content as I go. And the second thing is, it makes it reconsumable. So it makes it so I go back and watch it again to see how you're building out the lore. Yeah. Like you don't like the Big Lebowski, and I'll let you, that's fine. But like for me, the first time I saw it, it was all right. Second time I saw it, my friend was like explaining to me, I was like, no, notice this. Third time I saw it, I was like, this is fucking genius. I like this. I like the lore of the Big Lebowski. And then all of a sudden, they made a Jesus movie, like the character Jesus of John Turturro, and it was horrible, and it broke the lore, and it's terrible, and like don't touch it. But I mean, I feel this way in life sometimes, man. I mean, like, you know, part of the reason I'm Catholic is because the lore, it's a straight line. I can follow that all the way through. I can pick up a saint from the 1200s, from the 1500s, and be like, yeah, that fits. It fits the lore, and it works for me. But then you talk to like a Mormon or something, and I'm nothing against Mormons. If we got Mormons in the audience, I'm not picking on you, but it's like you guys lore break right off the start. You said you had a great apostasy right after the last apostle died, and then yet you follow the Bible, and then you have your kind of Bible 2 in the Book of Mormon, or the Book of Mormon. And so the problem I have with your lore is, well, if you think that the Christian church went off course after the last apostle died and the great apostasy, and it was basically evil, and that's why you're bringing everything back, then why do you follow the Bible that was put together? The table of contents was put together by the Catholic Church. So you gotta give credit where credit's due. I don't know what you're doing. So the other problem I have with lore breaking is the cognitive dissonance that is required to accept it.
They're trying to gaslight you into being like, no, it's always been this way. It's always been this way. It's always been this way.
Or,
like, no,
or
it hasn't.
Don't be such a nerd. Don't be such a nerd. Don't be such a hater. You're just racist. You're just a bigot. So
I think
that's my issue. Well, go ahead.
I think a really great analogy for this and what is happening in media, right, is that if you follow lore, if you get into like a big universe and franchise, right, and you really skillfully weave your little storyline into the universe, it's like Egyptian 10,000 thread count cotton, right? We'd all rather have like super high thread count sheets, but when they unweave and put their own stupid shit in and undo it, you end up with this like fucking scratchy
patchwork
mess.
Quilt that looks like crap.
And it's like it's a 24 thread count. There's absolutely no depth. There's nothing worth holding on to. That's the other part you're talking about, it be engaging you when you read that stuff and it like gets you to re-engage. When they're just like, we're just throwing this shit away. We're throwing this shit away, and this is different. Spock's got another brother and a sister, and there was actually a chosen one made before Anakin. So they're like, it's just like it diminishes so much of the thing that you end up with just sandpaper, and now you're sleeping in sandpaper. And they go, no, we've always slept in sandpaper. Like, no. We used to sleep on 1,000 thread count Egyptian cotton that was fluffy and soft and beautiful, and you have taken it and ruined it.
Well, it's like, we have our own lore on this show. There is a lore on this show. We're on episode 359.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden I was like, no, like some black guy comes in and is El Chaco and is like, yeah, I'm all about women's soccer. I own a women's soccer team in Bolivia. It's like,
and there was a woman named Chad, and she was really into Star Wars and was like, I've hosted this show for the most time that anyone has ever hosted. Everyone watching would be like, what the fuck is happening?
and then you've got another one, which is an Asian fellow named Tuk. I'm trying to come up with a buck. And he's all about the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. Anyways, that joke we've taken out of the way. But this is a good issue. I mean, I wasn't sure where my energy level was going to be. I haven't been sleeping much this week, so I'm glad we were able to get this one in. And lore breaking, big issue that needs to be dealt with.
Big problem. Voted up. Well, that brings us to the middle of our episode, which means it's time for KSUX Channel 44 News. That's right. I changed the news
every time now.
Every time.
And we've always done that, right from the beginning.
Yeah, there's no lore reasons for it. It's just a totally innocuous thing that I do, changing the news segment. We've done it every single
time that we've always done that, right from the get-go.
No reason to ever talk about anything. There's no, so it's actually, and it's been a slow news week also. There's been
dead slow. Like, is the internet even still working anymore? I don't even know. Like nothing refreshes. I go to my Twitter feed and it's like nothing's happening. I don't get
it. Did you
get this cold? It's the mulberry tree. Anyway,
did you get affected by the CrowdStrike hack this week that everyone was talking about? Their shit not working.
Not really down here. I mean, my internet worked fine, ironically, and I didn't leave the house. Restraining order, so I didn't. I don't really know.
Well, I've got a news story here from, I'm guessing probably Miami. I don't know, but did you see Cocaine Bear?
Just the trailer.
Well, there's going to be a sequel coming based on this news story. Sharks in the waters off the coast of Brazil have tested positive for cocaine. Researchers have long suggested that sea life could be impacted by drugs dumped in the water by smugglers, and a study from the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation in Brazil has now found evidence that sharks are in fact being affected by drugs polluting the ocean. They dissected 13 wild Brazilian sharp-nosed sharks that were bought from a small fishing vessel as the species spend their entire lives in coastal waters. Muscle and liver tissue were tested using a standard technique called liquid chromatography with tandem mass spectrometry, where molecules are separated in a liquid to look for cocaine and benzoylecgonine, the main metabolite in the drugs. All 13 sharks were positive for the drugs, with a concentration much as 100 times higher than previously reported for other aquatic creatures. So,
any 9-year-old sharks in that Any 9-year-old sharks that tested positive in that group?
There were not. No, they didn't actually specify.
They didn't do a hair test.
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
yeah. Like you always wonder. Like I saw a documentary once on how cocaine was made, and it's quite the process. It's quite the process. And I don't do cocaine at all, but to hear it getting dumped in the ocean, it's like, man, some people lost their hands. Somebody got clipped for that error, wherever that went down.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate when they pop up shit all over the fucking news feed. And it's not even a good
I didn't send you any this week. I should have.
Well, it's because there has not been that much news.
No, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening, man. You know, I wanted to get my roof painted blue because the conspiracy videos with the the lasers and stuff like that. But apparently, I think my roof is too slant, it's graded, it's sloped too much for anybody to go up there. It's not safe. So I guess we're just gonna have to leave it as it is.
Where'd it go? There it is. So we're kind of a men forward podcast, right?
I would say we skew male.
Yeah. So breeding seasons can be dangerous for male frogs that attempt to impress a potential mate. They can quickly find themselves being dragged off and eaten by unimpressed females, researchers have discovered. So like here in the human world, they just shoot you down and ghost you. But in the frog world, they're not only are we making the male frogs gay with the chemicals, but now the female frogs are bullying the male frogs and dragging them off and eating them.
I think that they need to have some sort of frog MGTOW movement, not just to protect their wallets or anything like that, like to protect their very mortal coil from shit sliding off.
Yeah, so the researchers first observed this behavior during a survey when they heard high-pitched squeals, and you hear it in the field, and it's a frog that's being preyed upon.
What?
And then they followed it and found it was male frogs being eaten by the larger female frogs, which
unimpressed.
Is also
they got no game.
A big problem is these big fat frog ladies preying on our skinny fit frog male friends.
They're too body positive.
Fine, stop being frog body positive and start finding a nice petite frog that's shorter than you and smaller than you.
Do you got frogs where you are, by the way?
We get tree frogs and stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they're around. I just don't see them that often.
Oh man, we got frogs where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like the end of Magnolia frogs. We got frogs in this place. And there's this one season of the year where it's mating season for them. They won't shut the fuck up because they're just calling back and forth. And you can tell which ones are the male ones and which ones are the female ones. Mm-hmm. And actually my kids love it because they go and they try to breed in our pool. So all of a sudden we'll have a bunch of tadpoles we got to scoop out, and then they kind of keep them as pets and all this kind of stuff. Derail.
We were sitting on the porch yesterday, and the cicada broods were fucking shouting in the trees, and it felt like they were coming closer.
You get cicadas there too, eh?
Oh yeah. It's not as bad in the city. Out in the county, it's been pretty hellacious.
What do they sound like where you're at?
They sound like summer, man. That's the unless you know what the cicada sounds like. I've always associated that sound with summertime.
I remember the first time I heard. Down here, it's they go long. They go. And I remember the first time I heard it, I thought a power line was knocked down or something like that. I was like, "What the hell is that?" And then
I equated to you remember those toys we had as kids where you would pull the trigger and it would spin a thing in there and it'd be zoom, zoom.
Okay.
That's they race up and then kind of fade down and race up and fade down over and over and again.
Do they leave their shells behind where you're at, on the trees and stuff? Yeah, my kids love collecting them. I don't want them doing that, but apparently my chickens and ducks love them. It's extra calcium.
They're high in protein. Yeah. We made a giant glass one at a Third Friday a few months ago.
Have you ever been have you ever seen one though, flying around and stuff? They're freaking huge.
No, the one I saw this year was small. It was like less than an inch long.
Oh, dude, down here
I have seen
they're like
giant
this. They're like huge, and I got hit in the head with one. Like one
Yeah.
came into our Keen show when we were like having like a Sunday dinner, and it like knocked me in the head, and I felt like I got like tapped on the head with a bat. Like the thing was like actually like a little bit meaty. I was like, what the hell? It hit me twice, and I was like, what is going on? But it didn't figure out how to get out of there until like after I like swatted it a few times. And when I hit it, it felt like I was like hitting like a tether ball.
So, did you ever have any student loans?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you had them, they defer them like when you're in school.
I had them. Okay, I don't know if I've said this in the lore, but I mean, at one point in time, like after the 2008 crash, I went from 15 clients to 2 clients within a 6-week period. I had my own office rented that I had a lease on, and I had to declare bankruptcy. And the only thing that stuck around were my student loans. Yeah, I couldn't get rid of them. But was able to pay them off a little bit later with kind of a bittersweet reason. But anyways, yeah. So what do you got about student loans?
Well, this physicist who dropped out of postgraduate school 75 years ago was awarded an honorary PhD at the age of 98. So I just assumed that she went back to like get her degree in order to keep deferring those student loan payments. Like, she's 98. What the fuck is she going to do with the PhD? Apparently,
was it an honorary one though, you said?
What?
Didn't you just say it was an honorary one? Like
yeah.
Kind of give them like Wayne Gretzky at every university in Canada?
Apparently, she discovered the kaon particle, but left academia before earning her doctorate. She was 22 when she discovered this particle that decayed into 3 pions and was later dubbed the kaon. I knew at once that it was a new and would be very important. We were seeing things that hadn't been seen before. Fowler was made an honorary doctor of science in a private graduation ceremony near her Cambridge home. Yeah, so
she was 1 year short or 1 course short.
I don't fucking know. They're just throwing shit out. They're just throwing degrees at people.
See,
if anyone has an honorary degree, I'll take it.
That's one thing. Like, I have a cousin. I got lots of cousins, but I got this one cousin. I don't have to say his name because I got enough of them, but he knows who he is. He's not watching this. But like, I had a cousin who went to university for a business degree or commerce degree and came 1 course short of graduating, and then just dropped out, was done, became a firefighter later. But like, that's always like bugged me because I was like, dude, just get the degree, just get it done, just get it done, get it over with. Because like when I was in university, I switched schools. Like a partway through, and so like about 3 years in, I switched schools. I went to a different city, moved with a girl, and then like, you gotta like take like a full course load to kind of get it all done in 4 years. But I didn't. I just kind of picked and choosed and did a couple of things, switched majors, switched minors, and it took me like 7 years. But I thought I was done after 6. I remember I was like partying with my friends, like wrote my last final, everything was done. I was submitted to go and do my convocation. And it turned out, by some stupid calculation, I was literally 1 credit short of graduating. 1 credit short. So that was fortuitous for me because I was ready to leave and go home. And I found out about this. And then at that same time, my university newspaper that I was writing at was holding interviews for the next year's editors positions. And I remember that somebody, a bunch of people had come to me and said, hey, you should be the sports editor. And we really want you to, because there's this big asshole who is also running for it. And we really don't want to have him, but it doesn't look like there's that many people that are shooting for this position. So we really want you in there. And then, so I ended up getting it, and I ended up just taking like 1 course per semester and barely going to any of the classes there because all I needed was 1 credit. But yeah, a little fortuitous, but I always think about that. Like, who are these people who get like this close? Like, just finish it. You just finish it. You put the money. Don't look.
Here's a pro tip on that. So I was a couple credits short of graduating, right? And they told me that the spring of my last year in college, and I told the whatever the guidance I don't know what the fucking term was, but I was sitting in her office and I was like, okay, well, here's the deal. Either I'm graduating in May or I'm dropping out today. So if I'm not going to graduate, then I'm done. I'm not going to spend another fucking semester here. I hate this place. And she looked at me with this look on her face like I just, shot her kid in front of her. And she's like, "Can you come back in an hour?" And I was like, I guess. What are you going to do in an hour? But okay. So I went and got lunch and I came back an hour later and I had a graduation appointment. All my credits sorted out. Yeah.
See, in my case, it was that I thought I had more than enough credits, but it turned out that two of the courses that I took at my first university didn't transfer over. So that was the reasoning for it. And then they didn't give me a benefit of the doubt on that. And I ended up having to spend another freaking 10 grand or whatever it was for living there for another year.
Two of my missing credits were credits that for crewing shows that you got for crewing not in your department. And I was never able to crew outside of my department because I had to fucking sound design like all the shows. So it was really tough for me to crew shows when I had to work on almost all of them. And then I had a couple of art courses that I got kicked out of because I'm not good at art, and I'm very vocal about how not good at art I am. I realize that's ironic, being the fact that I have
says the glassblower. Yeah, he's being commissioned.
The only kind of art that I'm good at, but they want you to fucking draw, and I don't fucking draw well.
Okay.
And then and yeah, it was all theater classes, and I think that they just went to the theater department and they're like, this is gonna be a huge, because there weren't that many of us in the graduating class. It was like 6 or 7, so it's gonna be like, this is really gonna fuck your scores if one of these people drops, because now you have an opening 15% dropout rate.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the university goes, you have a 15% dropout rate in this class, cutting your funding. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Is that all our news for tonight?
That is all of our news.
Good.
So this has been KSQX Channel 44 News, a totally regular and ongoing news segment that has never been anything different from
I feel like we have to adjust our sound settings for music for talking over them at this point, because this one goes all long. Yeah. But okay, so that takes care of the news portion.
Hold on, let me edit this sound effect real quick, and that way it's which means that is our news portion, which means it's time to say, here's what is brought to you by through the generous contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Thanks for supporting the show after all these years. And now that we're back for season 7, I think we're kind of we're still in the waiting in, figuring out what we're going to do.
I'm enjoying where we're going. This is
just stay tuned. We'll see what happens, and keep watching. And thanks for continuing to watch. I really do appreciate it. But let's get to a real issue, shall we? Here's what I don't get. Artificial intelligence as a service. Now, I'm not bringing this in to shit on Uncle Buck from a couple weeks ago.
No.
When he was talking about AI alarmists. But this really made me blow my stack this week. I feel like we didn't learn anything from decades of social media, and especially the Cambridge Analytica scandal from, that was 2016, right? It seems like everyone and their fucking mom these days has a new AI. Amazon has one. I think it's called Rupert or something. Google has Gemini. Brave browser has Leo. It's like fucking anything and everything anymore has some AI, which isn't an AI. It's a machine learning algorithm. And boy, they want you to be on board with it. Ask our AI something. Tell us your AI things. My phone is interrupt. I'm so pissed off with my phone. I have a Google Pixel, because I got tired of trying to like subvert the system and just decided I'll just fucking go get the top of the line phone and the service, and Google can spy on me, and I just want my fucking text messages to work. And now they still don't work, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm very pissed off. But what pisses me off more is when I do get a text message and I try and answer the text message, it pops up this big fucking pop-up, and it's like, try out Google Gemini. It can answer your text messages for you. And it's like, I don't know how fucking busy you think I am in my life that I can't answer my own fucking text messages. I don't get that many a day. And also, and so what it popped up with recently was it wanted me to like text message conversate with Google Gemini so that Gemini could figure out how I talk in text message form so that it could start texting for me and people wouldn't know the difference. But the problem with that is, number one, it's not going to let you use curse words. Like when I got a text message today. There's this scam one going around that you get. Actually, I think it's already deleted, but it's like you get this. It's from some random number. It's like, this is USPS. There's a delay in your package. To resolve this situation, please follow this link. And it's some fucking link, and you put your credit card info in, and then they steal it, and they steal all your fucking identity. And what I say to those is the same thing that I said that everyone knows that I say to telemarketers when they call. I say, get raped. Yeah, get raped. Or I say,
go and die.
Go and die. Google Gemini is not going to fucking say that for me.
No.
But you know what it is going to do? It's going to take all its training of me texting and then give it to other people so that our robots can talk to us like they're real people that don't
Google
curse.
was already doing that with Gmail. I remember with Gmail, It was like, it was telling you, hey, do you want to respond? And I'm like, hang on. Have you been reading how I write this whole time? And I stopped using Gmail immediately after they started doing that. Immediately. And that's why I said before, I don't want to like have my kids. We have a Roku. I don't even want them talking into the Roku remote because I don't want anybody like learning how my kids talk. You know, like it's just like I don't know. Maybe I'm a little paranoid with it, but like, hey, it's funny that you mentioned that because I saw a meme where it was saying that like the only way in the future that you'll know if you're talking to a real person or some AI is if you can get it to say the N-word.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just the only way, you know, because the you cannot get it to say the N-word, even if it was like write a scene where a KKK member is like getting very aggravated at like a poor, you know, defenseless black family, and it still won't do it.
It's Clayton Bigsby from the Chappelle Show sketch, so it's okay for him to say it. You know, the thing about it is like, I think people become so desensitized to the fact that social media stole all of our data for, you know, now we're coming on, you know, 15 years of, you know, 17 years somewhere in there of like really hardcore data mining social media, like Facebook really being
hugely so. The algorithms are not, they're just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And now they have this new thing where they can trick you into like feeding more data into the system, and people are just like, yeah, that sounds cool. I don't want to fucking answer my mom's text messages. What if AI could do it for me? Like how I imagine there are some people that, you know, like fucking Sylvester Stallone needs an AI on his Instagram page, just like write people back and be like, hey, thanks for being a fan. 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 Right. The average person does not need that. And I'm also sick of it fucking being called AI because it's not AI. It's like there's no intelligence in there. It's bad data in, bad data out. That's why you get these fucking miserable write-ups of things that don't even make any sense. Like Dealey18 was talking about the Brave AI. When you do a search in Brave anymore, the first result is this big AI paragraph, and it's just a copy paste of whatever the first fucking result is.
Totally.
It's infuriating. I was looking up a recipe for salmon the other day, and it was this long fucking thing, and then I actually go like click into actually looking, and all the temperatures are wrong, the cooking times are wrong, fucking seasoning's wrong. It's just like I just fucking hodgepodge a bunch of shit together, and it's free. And what is the search when something is free? What is the product? The product is you. How have we not learned this already?
Well, even if you are paying, I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. It's a tool. It works for me. It does cut down a significant amount of my Workday.
Yeah.
Hugely so. I was so against it. It works for me really well, but it still needs so much hand holding. So much hand holding. Like, I mean, again, I also use it because the thing is, like, Google Translate, for example. I don't know where the fuck they get their Spanish from. It's not Spain. It's not Mexico. I don't know where they get it from. And it gets so many things wrong. It calls everybody. Anytime I'm talking to even like, like the garbage man, it does it in the usted form, which is like the formal, like you're talking to a king. Mm-hmm. So ChatGPT has been a lot better for me because I can basically just pump in what I want to say and go, here, write this in like, formal Paraguayan Spanish to my lawyers, blah, 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 blah. But it takes so much handholding. And the other thing that I hate about it is when it lies. So for example, my lawyers, when I talked about this in the preamble, they sent me like, the thing is like, I don't know why they do this, but there's two things they do. They will either use, everything's on WhatsApp. Down here, the only way you can talk to people is on WhatsApp. And on WhatsApp, what they'll do is like my lawyer, my wife and I have gotten to this point where anytime we hear the beep and I look and it's like my lawyer, we both just like, because we know it's bad news. And then what she'll do is she'll give me like these 3-minute long audio messages speaking fast and I don't understand everything she's saying. If she just typed it out, I'd be able to copy and paste it and do it that way. But instead, what I have to do is I have to play it on my computer speaker, hold up my phone with Google Translate, listening to it, and then it basically transcribes it, and then I can go from there. But they like today when they sent me their thing that they're sending back to my neighbor, or not to my neighbor, to the judges, they send me a PDF, right? They don't send me a Word document. They send me a PDF. And it's a PDF that is a scan of something that they literally printed out and then scanned into it. So I can't even take the like letters out of it. I don't have that ability to do that. Yeah. So I had to like retype everything in, because what I did though is at first I thought that it would have, ChatGPT is usually pretty good about reading things. And so I plopped it into ChatGPT and I was like, what did she say? And then it went off and it made shit up. It just made shit up. And I'm like, hang on, like I know enough Spanish to know that you're just making shit up here because that looks nothing like the document. I'm like, what's going on, ChatGPT? And I it does nothing. Well, but I always argue with ChatGPT. I always just like give it the gears. And I waste like a good 15 minutes doing that when I'm doing that. Instead, I should have just been typing it out and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a weird thing that they keep slacking onto the things. And like they're going to put it in video games. So the NPCs will have something that they can say that's somewhat original. But all these things they're just plagiarism machines. That's all they are. They're just plagiarism. And they're not even good at it. My son one time was writing a story, and he got his hands on one of these quote unquote AI things, and he was writing the story and he's pumping it in there, and he had me take a look at it and read it. And I had to have a heart to heart with him. I was like, man, I don't want you using this while you're learning to write. I don't want you using this while you're learning to write. I get that you want it to like look older than you write and do all that kind of stuff, but I need you to like work it out. I need you to figure out how to do writing. I need you to read more. I need you to write more. And when you're writing, you're going to learn like what works, and you're going to learn your own voice. And that's the other thing is that ChatGPT and all these things, they have no voice. There is no actual soul in there. And I mean, I saw this one story this week. Again, like I said before, like the news cycle was so boring the last 2 weeks. So boring. Nothing happened. But apparently the vice president went and did some sort of like, thing about, delegates moving over to her. And she had a conversation by phone with the president. And somebody plugged that into ChatGPT, not ChatGPT. It was 11 Labs. Yeah. 11 Labs. And like I used 11 Labs to have Norm Macdonald's voice as the disclaimer on my other show. I used 11 Labs to make the voice of, what's the guy from Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. I can picture
his face, but I can't think of it. Bruce Campbell.
Come on. Bruce Campbell. There it is. And so somebody, 11 Labs, because it knows what it's doing. Because it literally creates this thing, and probably somebody used 11 Labs to make this thing. Somebody plunked in the audio of the president's voice, and 11 Labs spit back saying it's 98% sure that this was created by AI, right? 98% sure that the president's voice used in this recording was done by 11 Labs itself. And so, we're going to get to this point where you're going to have to greet your friends with the N-word just to make sure that you know each other are like legit. If everybody's answering the text messages with AI, then it's just going to be AI talking to AI. And again, yeah, not crapping on Buck's issue of alarmism, but at the same time, like, where is it going to end? Right? Because like, you say about, go ahead.
I'm not even like, I'm not worried about the repercussions of it. I'm just annoyed. I'm more annoyed that we as a species have not learned that this stuff is not good for us.
Well, that is the repercussions of it, though.
I mean, I guess.
Like, I remember when text messaging first came out, I had like this like Motorola Razr phone, or I had some sort of slide phone. I loved that phone. It was like the greatest. It was the coolest phone. I loved pulling this thing out. It was like silver. It looked great, felt great in my hand. The battery lasted forever. But I remember, like, there was a period of time where we all got into the workforce, and like friends, like, you're not supposed to have like personal calls on like work time and stuff like that, but we all did it. And we just, like, you don't use the company phone, because the company phone shows where all your calls are coming and going. So you use your cell phone. So you talk to your friends. And I remember, like, it was like this, like, I think it was around, I want to say like 2009, 2010, where everything kind of started to just shift into the middle on that. And I remember the first friend who said to me, like, I can't talk, I'm at work. Why are you calling me at work? I was like, I don't know, because we're planning for tonight and it's like a 5-second call. And she was like, why aren't you texting me? And I was like, texting? I hate texting. Texting was like, I got to hit like a to get like, can you come out tonight? It's like 222 2. And then like, I guess that would have been 5 like, I had like, just to get, can you come out? Like, I hated it. And then, like, I remember that when texting became a thing, calls became not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So calls all of a sudden became not a thing. You don't call anybody more. Why are you calling me? Don't call me. I text. And so it's like, okay, fine. But the problem is text doesn't take in like the subtext. It doesn't take in the nuance. I got to wait for you to fucking respond, just so, like, if we're going back and forth, like, where should we go tonight? And it's like, oh, this is happening at this place. And then I got to wait like 10 minutes before you write back, like, oh yeah, I can't make it to that place. Can you go and move it to this? Like, it was just annoying. It took longer. I hated it. It was like, if you just called me for 30 seconds, we could get this thing over with. And I guess that ages me, but at the same time, that's where we were. And so now we're getting to the point where we're not even texting with one another. We're letting the computer do it. Come on. Where are we going? Where are we going? I don't even know what comes next after that. Because, like, again, what are your interactions going to be? I mean, really, to live, you're going to basically have to invite people over to your house. And when they greet you at the door, you're going to have to call them the N-word right there, just to make sure that they're not like some sort of android that's been sent on their
or a fed place. Which is also a big risk these days.
What's that?
Or a fed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's it's just it's frustrating because like Amazon popped up with one, and I'm like, what the fuck? What are you gonna do for me? Are you gonna shop deals for me? Like, what? And Amazon's really infuriating, right? Because Amazon already has a shitty algorithm where, like, I buy a thing and then it goes, hey, here's 17 things like that thing you just bought. Like, yeah, I fucking saw them last week when I bought that. I don't I don't need you. It took me buying 25 t-shirts before Amazon figured out that I wear a large now and not an extra large.
Yeah, because it's always telling you your old purchases and stuff like that.
So it's just like,
now, I get why they're doing it. Because I got a lot of clients in quote unquote AI. A lot of them. And I got to keep writing about data centers all the time. And like, it's like data centers are the big thing. They're cropping up in cities all over the North America. And then it's like the other story comes in. It's like data centers are huge electricity hogs, and it's a big threat to our electrical grid. Oh, we got to work on that. And so all of a sudden, all the greenies are like, maybe nuclear power is not such a bad idea. So then now I got uranium clients. So I'm writing about uranium, and I'm writing about nuclear power. I'm writing about data centers. I'm writing about copper because copper wire is needed. I'm writing about lithium. I'm writing about all this stuff. I'm writing about silica sand now because, we need it for all the quartz, and we need it for all of the smartphone screens and all this kind of stuff like that. So this AI bubble, which it's a giant bubble. Everybody's like talking about it right now, but at some point in time, either it's going to cross the Rubicon and actually be useful, or it's going to die off because it's going to be shown to be detrimental. But nobody's going to stop anything that's detrimental to society. We only push things that are detrimental to society.
Of course.
Degenerates are running everything. But I can see why Amazon's doing it, because Amazon is data center central. Amazon Web Services, AWS, is basically, they're like the kingpin of data centers. They supply it for the government. They supply it for all the national security stuff and stuff like that. So it doesn't surprise me in the least that Amazon's doing it. And although probably all they need to do is just kick out and have another app or something like that. But I could see them getting better. I'd like for them to get better, especially when it comes to those kind of things. One thing that I hate is AI customer service. It's somehow worse than
talking to a person.
Getting connected to India. It's somehow worse than that, but it actually is. And you have to because before you could go agent, it's like just agent. I just want to talk to agent, push 0 for agent. And now it's like, man, I've gone through these things now. I think I was doing something with my kids' Minecraft, or it was either I was talking to Microsoft. I think I was talking to Microsoft. And you can't. The other thing is this is a future issue, but the death of contact pages, right? Because you used to be able to go to these things and be like, I'm going to call you here. Give me a number, and I'm going to call you here, and we're going to sort this shit out. But now we don't have that anymore. Now I go to Microsoft. I got to go and deal with their AI customer service. I got to tell them, you got to call me back. And then they tell me they're going to, I have to feed them all of my information. And then they call me back 15 minutes later. And then I talk to a guy who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. We get cut off, and I got to do the whole thing again. And it's the worst.
Yeah. I'm tired of it. Stop feeding your data into data mining scams. Is it really making your life that much easier for Gemini to field your text messages? What kind of text message are you getting that you need fielded? Is it making your shopping experience better for Amazon's robot to show you the deals that you already knew existed? It doesn't. It's just a way for them to get more stuff from you, to put more stuff into your shadow profile that they connect and sell to other groups for money, because you are the product and your data is the product. And I'm tired of being the product. And I gave in and bought the fucking Google phone and just accepted that there's a level of spying that I have to deal with in order to exist in the modern world and have some amount of convenience in my life. But I'm not volunteering for it, as I'm trying not to volunteer for it at every fucking step of the way. It really pisses me off that I can't there's not a button in my phone or an option to just be like, Google, I don't fucking want Gemini. Stop talking to me about it. Stop making it pop up on fucking literally every app that I have. I am perfectly happy to run my phone like a fucking Philistine myself. Thank you.
I could see, again, I don't mind it seeping into video games at all. Like I don't mind it. I don't.
Yeah.
If it goes into video games and it makes your open world stuff like
A little more
cooler.
textured, so you don't have a person coming up to you and being like, "I've got a message to deliver. Your eyes only." You
Yeah,
know, the same
yeah, and like
fucking stupid voice you've heard 7 million times in Skyrim. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all
I'd
for
be all
AI
about
generated
that.
movies. Like, I want to take Star Trek books that I've read and enjoyed and put them into an AI movie generator and generate a new episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation I've never seen before. That sounds like fun.
It would be. We're not there yet because we're not going to get the cool stuff. Because the cool
No.
stuff for them is dangerous. Because then you could make, a whole movie of like Joe Biden giving a speech that people might be able to believe.
You could make the Little Mermaid with an actual redhead.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Yes, yeah, I would like to watch Dune, but I'd like the girl to actually be a redhead and not fucking Zendaya.
Be attractive.
Oh, wow,
I don't get.
Way better.
Here's what I don't get: Zendaya. Quit trying to sell me that she's the hottest thing in the world. Like, just knock it off. It's not working.
No. You're not going to do it. The government
never going to work.
May or may not.
We're all in on the Lizzo joke. We're all in on the Lizzo joke, but you're never going to sell me on Zendaya. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. There's a thing about objective beauty and that ain't fitting it. So
yeah, I do worry
that
I've figured out my tastes way too accurately though. So,
are you picking up my dog barking like a crazy person outside at all or no?
I'm not hearing it in my ears.
Oh, okay. All I hear is him.
He's probably threatening your neighbors.
He's probably watching some female frogs terrorizing some male frogs, but no, he doesn't mess around with the neighbors. Like, he likes them because they drop like, packets of goodies in the form of baby diapers in the woods.
Fucking gross. Anyway, well, this has been Here's What I Don't Get. I'm Tad Burt.
I'm El Chaco.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Ciao, ciao.
If you want to call into the Here's What I Don't Get hotline, you can call us at 704-750-9434 and tell us what you don't get. Or you can visit us in Discord and leave a voicemail there. I've got
his AI's glitching.
Yeah.
We did. By the way, everybody doesn't know this, but we did this whole episode where only I was here, and this is AI tab for the whole episode. Just entered as like you come up with a story about some like really crappy people in a theater treating him badly, and it's like, I got that, chief.
Fed it with tons of videos from when I was in high school, which is why I look thin instead of fat. So we have a bunch of voicemails this week. So here's one.
Yeah, what I don't get is the movie Furiosa. Dog shit movie. Do not watch it because it will I am watching Fury Road right now, and it is baffling how bad Furiosa is. Just everything about the movie sucks. And then they say, well, yeah, they joke online where it's like, yeah, it explains how she got her hair cut and how she lost her arm. That's about it. Because otherwise, it doesn't fucking, none of it makes sense. I'm fucking, at the scene right now where, Mad Max is, taking everybody in the fucking truck and they're going having gay old time. Then Gastown shows up. And who's in the fucking lead car? The fat dude with the gold thing over his nose. In Furiosa, he is talking with Immortan Joe. And so it's like, oh, how did he fucking magically tell it? Furiosa makes no goddamn sense. And it fucking
lore breaking. Big issue. Lore breaking. There you go.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one because, again, I didn't bother to see Fury Road either. I apologize. The pollen is coming in real bad.
I saw Fury Road way late. I think maybe we did a commentary of it. Maybe we just watched it as a movie night. And I was bored to death. And I think I'm the only person. And I was just like, this sucks.
Not interested.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I had no interest in seeing Furiosa because I didn't like the last movie. I like, the Road Warrior is the first one. And then Mad Max is the second one. The second one's great. First one is kind of dull. And then it ramps up in the end. Beyond the Thunderdome, I turned off halfway through.
It's only good in the Thunderdome, and then everything after that is crap.
Yeah, once they got to the kids, I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, and that drags on forever.
Apparently the end is better, but I just couldn't make it through. I hate children in movies.
Speaking of lore breaking, did you ever get into Highlander? Was Highlander a thing for you?
Yeah.
You know what? I've only seen one Highlander, and I saw the wrong one.
Which one did you see?
I saw Highlander 2: The Quickening at like a sleepover, and like it was so bad. And I understand that basically that one broke the lore so bad because it made them as like aliens or something like that. That like they just like ignored it.
Totally ignore it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also broken too because like so Highlander, the first movie, the end of the movie, he gets the gift. Like he won the contest.
Yeah, it should be one movie.
Yeah, and then they made the second one where they're like aliens and it's the future and he like ungets the gift. But then they made Highlander 3. Trying to remember what the subtitle on that is, but it's set between 1 and 2, and he has the gift, but then a guy like comes out as holy ground. So and then the TV show was popular, so they like retconned it, and then I think in one of the movies they kill Connor McLeod so that Duncan McLeod from the TV show can be the star. And then I think he finally does get the gift in one of the, but by that time it was
that's
just
like obliterated lore.
Mess. Yeah,
it's obliterated lore at that point in time. And like you're a big Terminator fan.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one that they just.
I just stopped after 2, man, because I was like, yeah, you summed it up. I don't need any more of this. You've done it. It's great. It's perfect. Chef's kiss. I'm done. Thank you very much. I don't need to see any more of these because you wrapped it up in a nice little package. It's over. I don't want to think about it. You can't undo it. And if you do undo it, all you're going to do is break the lore. That's how I thought about it.
Yeah. I'm even an apologist for Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was a kid when it came out. Like I enjoyed it enough, but it doesn't like destroy. I guess, I mean, it kind of does, but it doesn't like totally destroy the whole
Genesis
universe.
Sure did, apparently.
As they've gone, it's just like none of this makes any fucking sense anymore.
I'm done. There's no way you did it. You 10 out of 10 T2. It's 10 out of 10 movie.
It's a perfect movie. It's the best movie ever made. Here's one from Dead.
Hey guys, Dead Home here. Here's what I don't get. New insurance. So switched over from State Farm to USAA, and because I have an accident on record that wasn't my fault, they went ahead and were like, oh, well, you're an irresponsible driver, so we're going to raise your rate from $80 a month to $300. So I'm like, okay, cool.
That's a
big
big jump.
To lower that? And they're like, yeah, download our app, so it has your location all the time. Okay, cool, I'll do it. As long as it's not $300 a month. And they're like, cool. But in the app, it like gives you video game loading screen tips. Like, hey, make sure keep your hands at 9 and 3. Make sure you follow the speed limit. Like, you think I'm fucking retarded? It's not that difficult. Stay furious.
Yeah, I remember when insurance companies started rolling that thing out where it's like, plug this thing into your OBD port and it'll lower your rates. I'm like, there is not a fucking chance that thing has ever lowered a rate ever. And then they're like, oh, you don't even need to plug in the OBD port. Just put it on your phone and let us monitor everywhere you go constantly. And it's like, we noticed you driving in North County, St. Louis a lot. We're raising them rates. We noticed you brake extra hard. We're raising them rates. It's like, nah, you can get fucked. You can charge me the rate that you're charging me. I ain't putting shit in my car. I don't have a fucking app. I got a paper copy of my insurance because also I am not going to be like, oh, my license, you want to see my insurance officer? Here's my unlocked cell phone. Yeah, go ahead and just fucking scroll through anything you want to.
No, I was offered to do that, and I was like, nah, man, like it was in Calgary, and like I know how to drive properly in Calgary, and I also know how other people drive in Calgary, and like when it gets icy and stuff like that, you're gonna drive like in their eyes is unsafe, but I just avoided an accident because of the way I stopped. But can you hold on one split second here? My dog is barking like a bastard, and I got to go and either close my door or see if I can get him to stop. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Time to put your N words in the chat so we can verify that you are not a bot, an AI that's watching this episode.
You come in? Come here, Dusty. Dusty, come. Come here. Come here. No, he's not coming in because we've taught him well. He doesn't go inside. Hey, knock it off. Okay, I'm going to close the door. 1 second. Just a couple of days ago, I had to call a vet in to come because we get like porcupine type creatures near us, and he starts finding them and he barks at them and he goes and he attacks them. And he got one. He actually, maimed one, didn't kill it. We had to kill it after, but he got like 5 like quills right straight in his nose. He looked like, it looked like somebody stuck in a bunch of like raw spaghetti or something.
Mm-hmm.
And my dog, because he got mauled when he was like a puppy by a neighbor's dog, not these neighbor's dog, but basically the equivalent. He's like really sensitive to pain. And so if you go to like try to do something for him, he'll snap at you. And so trying to get these out of him, he would growl and snap at you. Otherwise, he's a sweetheart, but like he's a really good dog, guard dog. So we had to call in a vet, and we had to like makeshift like dog catcher kind of thing to like restrain him, and like 3 of us like restraining him because like otherwise he's gonna like take off a hand. And then we ended up sedate him, and the sedation, like he's such a badass, is supposed to take 15 minutes. It ended up taking like close to an hour for him to finally power out. And even when he was like powered out, he was still like mad and snapping at us while we were taking the things out. And I have a horrible feeling right now that he's found another porcupine, and tomorrow I'm gonna have to call the vet in because that's gonna end up being a problem. Anyway, sorry, derailed again. My bad.
Here's one from Sage.
Hey guys, it's Sage. So, Tab, you were talking about how like nowhere really feels right. I haven't finished the episode yet, but honestly, I think you're just depressed. Like, I know that's obvious as shit, but like, I don't know, it's very similar to how me and my wife have been feeling lately. Is just like everywhere we've been, like even going to the past, it's like, yeah, it was good, but not as good as it should be. And like everywhere we move is a little better and everything, but I don't know. This is too serious of a fucking voicemail. I'm gonna shut up. You get what I mean. Bye.
I know the feeling though, man. Like everything sucks, right? Like that
wasn't what I was trying to convey. It wasn't that everything sucks. It's like there are a lot of great things in my life.
In his case, it sounds like
enjoy.
That,
but it's just like I just don't. I feel like there's more road ahead of me than there is behind me, which is almost kind of like a positive outlook. I just don't know where that road goes.
I'm from a music perspective, because I brought up Limp Bizkit the other time. Another band that I have kind of a, I'm going to say a lukewarm feeling on is, are you familiar with the band Death Cab for Cutie?
I do remember people liking that when I was in high school.
Okay, yeah. I'm not saying I like it. They probably have maybe about 3 or 4 songs that I like of theirs. One of them is called You're a Tourist. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard the song You're a Tourist by Death Cab for Cutie?
Not knowingly.
Well, I'm going to send it to you afterwards, because I'll send you the lyrics version, because it'll hit. Because there's a line in the song where it says, when you feel like you're a tourist in the place that you were born in, it's time to go. But there's only so many places that you can go to that you can feel like you can call home. And so it kind of felt like it was right on the on the money there. I might have botched the delivery, but I'll send it to you later, because I listened to it after and I was like, yeah, I felt that.
This is going to be a really weird aside in the middle of this. What was that Limp Bizkit song, the new Limp Bizkit song you sent me the video of?
Oh, that was Turn It Up, Bitch.
Turn It Up, Bitch. So,
oh man, it's so good. It's so good.
It is pretty good. So yeah. Thursday, last week, Thursday, a friend of mine was playing a gig at a bar that's like 3 minutes away from my house. So I was like, I'll go see him, have a beer, maybe dinner at because they serve food. And so I ended up hanging out until their show ended. And then they were like, hey, a bunch of us are going to go to this karaoke bar that's like a minute away from this bar.
Tell me you busted out Limp Bizkit.
No, I did not. I did not.
Oh.
And I was like, why not? I don't have to get up early for work tomorrow. We're not going in right away. So fuck it. Let's have some fun. So I go over to that bar with him, and I end up standing out on the patio, and there's this group of people, and I start talking to them, and they're talking about Limp Bizkit. And fortunately, we had just had this conversation about Limp Bizkit, and I was like, oh, did you hear Limp Bizkit's new song? Turn It Up, Bitch. And I played it, and they were like, this is pretty great. And I was like, it is pretty great.
It's really good. Yeah.
And then they're like, why don't you have a seat and join us? And so I end up sitting down, and I joined this group of people who were like talking about
all over Limp Bizkit.
All over Limp Bizkit, right? So then they go inside, and I'm following them inside, and I rendezvous back with my people who think that I have just fucking disappeared. And they're like, where were you? And I was like, I don't know. I was talking with these people that were out here. They're no longer out here. So we end up back inside, and this group leaves. And as they walk past my little group of people, they're like, hey, Tab, yeah. And they're like slap, like every one of them is slapping me 5 and and they're like, we're going over to the Famous Bar, which is another bar that's like another couple minutes down the road. You should come. And the people I'm with are like, do you know these people? I'm like, no, I met them like 45 minutes ago.
We bonded over Fred Durst in West Portland.
And so my friends are like, are you going to go to the Famous Bar? And I was like, yeah, let's see what happens. Right. So I go over to the Famous Bar. Famous Bar's shutting down. They're like, hey, you came on this fucking guy we met just like an hour ago at this other bar. We're going to go over to this guy's house and stand on the roof of his apartment.
Well, it better
building.
not have been sloped.
It was not sloped, fortunately. And I was like, fuck it, why not? So I ended up drinking until 3 a.m. with this group of strangers on someone's fucking roof in South City, St. Louis on a Thursday night into Friday morning.
All because of Limp Bizkit's new song.
Yeah, and the other crazy thing was, it wasn't until we were standing on the roof that my glass blowing comes out. I normally lead with that. Like, I didn't even fucking mention it up into that point. And they're like, oh, it's so fucking cool. We should hang out again. And I was like, did I just make a new batch of best friends?
Oh, man.
Just because of fucking this one Limp Bizkit song?
I love that you bring up like glass blowing late in the game on that one.
Yeah.
Because like, that's always like that, like, that's like my pro wrestling. Like when I'm having a conversation with somebody and like, it's like, tell us something interesting about yourself. And it's like, I made a pro wrestling show, 40 episodes on primetime television in Paraguay and 4 other Latin American countries. Like, why didn't you tell me this all along?
Yeah.
But then we have a rule on this show that I can only mention it once. So, that's why.
Well, you saved it. You saved it almost two whole hours in.
Charlie said Dad's song is good too. Yeah, Dad Vibes, freaking great song. And strutting out to that is Don Chaco. Perfect.
Here's another one from Dead Helm.
Hey guys, Dead Helm here. Here's what I don't get. Skipping you out on nachos. So, I went to a Mexican restaurant with my mother tonight, and, I do live in Texas, and Tex-Mex is fucking disgusting. Capital F fucking. But apparently, the way they do nachos now to save money is instead of just putting what would be a normal basket worth of nachos, they give you about 6 to 12 tortilla chips, put the beans, cheese, and meat on there because it saves them money. And fuck that. If I'm paying $15 for a fucking big-ass plate of nachos, like I'm supposed to, I would like to get the unhealthy amount of chips. They're serious. I
assume this is a place that's not also giving you like a free basket of chips and salsa, which is the way Mexican restaurant should be.
It should be. Well, since when did like tortilla chips become like really expensive? Like
they cost nothing,
dude. When I make nachos, let me tell you, the tortilla chips, that ain't the budget breaker. The budget breaker is the cheese and a few of the other things. Like when you're, like
it's the meat.
Together, together it can be an expensive dish when you make it at home.
Yeah.
In a bar, it's a loss leader because they want you to buy booze, right?
Yeah. I made fajitas last night. I think all in, it probably cost $60 for peppers, onions, chicken, but I bought like a lot more chicken than what I actually used for the fajitas and like froze part of it. Avocados, cheese, sour cream. It's probably like 50 or 60 bucks, but it also fed me, and I had leftovers today, and I have leftovers for tomorrow, and I have leftovers for the day after that. So
so that's
like,
proper budgeting. That's good.
It's
it's
multiple meals, and chips and salsa was part of that, and like the salsa was like $3 a jar, and the chips I think are maybe $3 a bag. Maybe.
See, like, I loves me some nachos, but like ever since, I don't know, it was in like my early 30s, I got like some sort of virus or something, and it killed my lactose tolerance. So I have to like just shovel in the Lactaid or whatever before I have nachos. And nachos don't agree with me. I love nachos. They're great, but can't do them. And then on top of it, because we're kind of cutting down on the seed oils and nobody makes any like beef tallow tortilla chips or anything even with like olive oil or anything like that. So we kind of cut down on them. But the tortillas, when you talk about like cooking all the extra chicken and stuff like that, like when I've sent you in the past photos of the Chaco household when I'm doing like steaks and stuff like that, right? I've sent you when we grill. Like we don't, like there's 4 of us. We sometimes have my buddy over for dinner and stuff like that. But generally speaking, it's not like we're having a banquet of people. But generally speaking, also, I hate lighting the charcoal. Like I have this giant Parrilla grill, like this giant thing. And so I always feel like if I'm going to put the effort in to get all the charcoal going and doing it, I better do a week's worth of meat while I'm on there. And so I'll buy these massive beef ribs, and because again, meat is so cheap here. It's so cheap here that I'll just do up a whole bunch of these things. And usually the follow-up is always a fajita night. So basically all the extra steak that was from the night before, we just strip it in, and then it's fajita night, and it's the way to go. So Lactaid lasts 5 times longer in the fridge too. Oh, interesting.
You know, knowing is half the battle.
Thanks, Charlie.
I think we have a follow-up about that Furiosa.
Oh, great.
Tony from Hack the Movies is a beta bitch for fucking when he was talking about that fucking Furiosa movie on his show. He's like, oh yeah, it's not that bad. No, it fucking sucks, Tony, you fucking faggot.
Isn't it great that we don't have advertisers?
Yeah, it is so great.
I love not having advertisers. Sponsors.
This is a voicemail that literally came in during the voicemail segment, and this is our last one.
Limp Bizkit!
What'd he say? Limp Bizkit?
Limp Bizkit!
Yeah, it sounds like it's saying Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit. Yeah. Unironically, like white guy music that sort of like culturally appropriates, I guess, some sort of hip hop, but I don't even know how to define Limp Bizkit. I just know that there's a few songs that freaking slap, and that's one of them. So yeah, man, I'm glad we got this through. Again, curse is broken. Yeah, we had a little bit of blips there earlier when I was talking about my neighbors, but otherwise, curse is broken.
Yeah, pretty good episode there. So until next time, next episode is gonna be 360, and we might try and do something special for it.
See if we can figure that one out.
Maybe I'll just copy episode 1 and just fucking send it into the feeds again.
And just start all over again.
Just start all over, just loop them in there, open up the Patreon, have people start paying for shit that's been out for 7 years.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Love the lively chatter. It's always a pleasure. I wasn't sure how much energy I'd have going into this. I apologize for all the hacking and wheezing from, again, mulberry allergies apparently. So, but yeah, I'm glad we were able to get together again. Hopefully, again, the news cycle just stays dull with nothing happening in an election year.
Nothing is for the best.
Awesome. All right. Well, sayonara. Ciao, ciao.